If the water line on our flood total Bentley is honest, and if it's accurate, I don't see why there would be any big issue in getting this car to run. Now, how good it will run, that's a whole nother story.
It's no secret that if you want a ball on a budget, you get yourself a Bentley Continental GT. This 200-mile-per-hour 12-cylinder twin-turbo Super Coupe used to cost around $200,000 a few decades ago, but now they're readily available on Marketplace for well under $40,000. That low price usually comes with a few caveats. Okay, many caveats, and I know firsthand about this because a while back I bought one of these for right around $40,000, and it had pretty much every single problem that one of these cars could have. Plus, the front end looked like it was repaired using Play-Doh, and after a few days of just trying to get the trunk open, I gave up and sold it at a huge loss.
What the heck is wrong with this car? Unlock, open, 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 open.
But I've found that the best strategy when you're down is to go all in. So when I saw this Florida Flood Total GT drop top with a super low waterline, I figured it would be easy money if we could get it to run again. It's a true gamble and it's listed as dead. There's no recorded mileage and the condition is pretty well masked by the limestone dust inside and out. This car ran through the auction twice and didn't meet reserve, so I got ready the third time and they let it go for what I think is a ridiculously low price. Like always, I'll disclose the full purchase price including fees in a moment, but when the car showed up on the delivery truck, we figured out very quickly there was no way it was coming off without a forklift. But before the driver took off, I was still able to get a very brief look at it. And the first thing I saw, which I didn't notice in the photos, was that the driver's seat was unbolted from the floor, like somebody had already tried messing with it. Also, someone peeled back a corner of the passenger side carpet, which is where an emergency neutral switch was placed on some of these Bentleys. Apparently this one doesn't have it. Now, this could have been the doing of the flatbed driver that carried it away from the previous owner, or it could have been someone at the auction. There's really no telling at this point, but to get the car off the driver's trailer, I met him a day later at the local Copart where they were able to transfer from his trailer to mine with their forklift. Now I know this thing looks pretty rough, but under all this dust could be a low mileage second home cream puff cruiser or a bargain basement Bentley that someone was so proud of they put stickers on the seats because it didn't come from the factory with the optional Stitch Flying B emblem.
Since the air suspension is dropped all the way to the ground, we're going to need to get this car up in the air so that we can actually get the doors open. You can see right now they're just hitting the fenders of the trailer, but it won't be too hard. We're going to want to jack from the rear. There's a cross member right on the underside here with almost like a little pad underneath it, so it's probably a factory jack point. Now while I'm jacking it, I wanted to go through the numbers real quick. $9,000 is what I paid for this car all in, but the final bid price was only $7,200, which goes to show you a couple things. First off, nobody wants an old Continental GT. They're just too problematic even when they're not in floods. And the second thing is the auction fees have gotten completely out of control. All right, that worked out well, and this car really looks amazing from certain angles and kind of rough from others, but there's a few quick things I noticed when I was on the transporter's truck. First of all, if you do look down here, you know, the door cards are all leather, and if those got hit with salt water, they would be toasted, as well as all the trim here on the seat. It's in really nice shape. Now, I did notice, look, somebody already unbolted the seat, which is kind of strange for an insurance company. And yeah, this battery is on the floor for the key fob, which is in a few pieces. Unfortunately, that is not abnormal for these cars. They tend to fall apart, as you can see here. But I've got the battery pushed into place here. Let's see, does this thing light up at all? Yeah, it does. Cool. So the key should work all right. Let's just get this kind of put back together so it doesn't fall apart when we're testing things. And I'm assuming at this point we have absolutely no power, right? Yeah, there's nothing going on here. Let's start under the hood where we can try and get some power to this thing. Now about that auction price, a $7,200 final bid on this car turned into over $9,000, and the majority of that extra money goes to the auction as their fees. Specifically at the salvage auction, they have made these fees like just crazy double-digit percentages. I think this was 15% over the final cost of the car. Now, it's one of the reasons I stick to the cheaper cars at the salvage auction, but if people are willing to pay these fees, they seem to keep wanting to ratchet them up. That doesn't just go at the auctions, it goes for like everywhere in life. I just got an email from my video doorbell provider that they're going to increase their monthly subscription fee, and I couldn't even tell you what I'm getting for the current monthly subscription fee. It's one of the reasons I'm ditching it, and I ordered a Reolink video doorbell because there is no monthly subscription fees, and it's at their lowest price ever during their Black Friday sale.
Their wireless video doorbell camera has 2K resolution and a wide field of view to give you the full picture of what's going on at your front door day or night. And like all Reolink devices, you can expand the storage with a micro SD card slot or the home hub, which I'll show you here in a moment. But no matter how you save your footage, you can review it at any time using the Reolink app. And I recently got their new Altus PT Ultra, and man, it's like if Tesla built a camera with a 500-day battery life, 355-degree field of view, and the ability to continuously record in 4K. I have mine powered with the solar panel, so it stays juiced up and I never have to plug it into a wall. Its feature set is unmatched, especially at its sale price right now, so make sure you check it out at the Amazon link down in the description box. Another amazing feature of the Altus and a bunch of other Reolink cameras is the Color X night vision, which light up the night like the sun never even set. Setup is always super easy and DIY friendly. All you got to do is scan the QR code through the app and everything syncs in one spot. Now I have my handful of cameras running through the home hub, which stores and encrypts every event.
With its 2 micro SD card slots, you can fit up to 1 terabyte worth of storage in this thing. Now personally, I'm only running 256 gigabytes, and over the last few months I've barely scratched the surface of that. So you can really fit a ton of footage on this, and since you own all the footage, there's no monthly service fee. You gotta check out Reolink during their Black Friday sale over at Amazon. I've got all the links down in the description box. With up to 43% off all their most popular cameras, you're bound to find the perfect security solution within your budget over at Amazon during Reolink's Black Friday sale. First things first, we gotta check our dipstick. Now, I tend to believe the waterline with everything I've seen so far, so if it is true and accurate, we're not going to see any water, and that looks like straight oil to me. No milky stuff, no funny business. So we're good to go there. Now, we should definitely still drain the oil before we give this thing a test start, but we're not even close to being there. We got to get power to the car. Of course, Bentley doesn't make it easy for anybody to do that. Everything is hidden. Now, in most cars, there's some obvious, positive and negative terminals somewhere in the corners, but they just didn't put them anywhere here. So we actually have to take this side air intake off, and we're going to find our alternator or our starter cables under there somewhere, which we'll then be able to hook a jump pack up to and send some power to it. There we go. All right. So here are 2 power leads. I think you can hook up to either one of them, and then we'll use right around the strut tower here as our ground. But that's where you got to get to. Now, you wouldn't be able to start the car off of this, especially if the battery's completely dead. But what you will be able to do is get enough power to the interior, if we don't have other things fried from the flood, to be able to pop the trunk open, and then from there, we should be able to try and start it. So look, my jump pack isn't even booting up, which tells me this thing's really low on voltage. We'll go ahead and force it on. Just snap there, and let's see what's going on. Come on, I see a screen on. We're gonna get a mileage reading. Let's see. There we go, 47,351 miles. Not bad. And well, there's only 2 warnings on. Something about the key. Oh, and the convertible top one. Did it go away? It's still showing that it's red. Look, we're not worried about that quite yet. Oh, power went off. Let me go boost the battery pack again. We're just going to see if the accessory power to this car turns on. There's a snap. I can hear the windows indexing every time I do that. You can see they keep getting lower and lower. Come on. All right. Foot on the brake. We're just trying to turn accessory power on. Nothing. It's doing absolutely nothing. Here, I'm going to take my foot off the brake. So this is doing nothing. The other thing is this key is
clearly stuck in the ignition. It won't come out. Let's get battery power to it one more time and then see if we can't pop the trunk open and get directly to the batteries. All right, let's just listen for our trunk when we hit the button here. Oh, come on. The trunk opened that easy? All right, now we open this with the purpose of getting to the batteries, but come on, we gotta take a look at what previous owner left us here. They have a racing motorcycle horn. I wonder if they were wanting to hook this up to this car. Another Bentley logo to put somewhere because you can never have enough of those. This looks like it's a jump pack slash tire inflator combo. That's exactly what this is. It even has some power to it. Look at all these things. This is hilarious. You know what these are? Look, iron-on patches. So when your Bentley top develops another hole, you just grab another one from the trunk and iron it on. Otherwise, some leather cleaner. There's actually a really good leather cleaner that I have and use all the time. It's pretty clean looking back here. Sometimes the floodwaters can make their way into like the lower trunk area here. I don't see anything. I don't feel any water down there, so that's all good. It's not wet at all. And behind these covers on either side, we should find batteries. Yeah, this is the small one right here. I'm gonna run and go grab my battery tester, but there's 2 batteries in this car. And that is probably what just starts the car. But when that one fails, there's a bigger one on the other side that can take over. It's very convoluted, but either way, we wanna make sure we got full power to both of them, because if we don't, well, nothing in the car is gonna work right. And if that's what fixes all our issues, which honestly I think it might, it'll be insane. Let's go ahead and test these batteries real quick. I'm doubting that either one of them has much juice. The smaller battery, we're gonna guess, that sounds good, about 500 cold cranking amps. Wow, well, we were close. It says it's got 600 cold cranking amps, and it's got over 12 volts, so that battery's actually really healthy. That is a good thing, but it's a bad thing because the car's not really got any activity going on. But this is the Big Daddy battery. This is the one that runs all of our accessories, and it's not even lighting the machine up, which means it's got no juice whatsoever. We are completely connected. So this battery is completely drained, completely dead, and well, that's a better sign. So in order to get anywhere with this car, we got to pull this battery out and charge it. At the very least, it might have to be replaced, but seeing as how this battery looks the same as that one, they were probably replaced at the same time. This one has probably just been drained because of all the action that's been going on after it got flooded. Now, getting this battery out of this compartment is always a big chore because it's huge, and then they've got all this fuse stuff in the way, and you can see it's all tucked in here neatly. Some of the crummier examples, you'll see these things just tossed all over the place, but you see right up there, right here is a screw that's holding this fuse box in place. We need to pull it up and out so we can get the battery out. Just one more reason these cars appreciate it so much. Have you ever seen such a ridiculous battery cavity where it's basically impossible to release the darn battery? Because, I mean, what else they want me to take off? Everything is out. It's just literally shoehorned in here, and especially with the car being so low. Woohoo! Oh my goodness, what a mess. How the hell are you supposed to get this out? There we go, come on. Come on. Come on, you're almost there. If I put this down, this handle, and then slid it out. There we go. All right. Now, to keep this repair as cheap as possible, I always try to revive a dead battery before going and buying a new one. This battery is so dead that the battery charger can't even detect it, which means it won't send a charge to it. So here's a quick trick. I'm going to take this set of jumper cables and connect the dead battery to another one. It can even be a weak battery, it just needs some voltage. Then connect the charger back to the dead battery, and since it's sharing power, it'll now recognize the battery and start charging it. I usually let this sit for a few hours on a low amperage setting, then pull the jumper cables off the secondary battery. Now our Bentley's battery is taking a charge. It's going to be a while to see if this will work, but it's worth a shot, especially since a new battery this size will cost at least a few $100.
Now, while we're waiting to see if we can bring life back to that battery, we should check the fuses in all of the main fuse boxes, but I'm impatient, and I took that spare H8 battery that I already had and just went and hooked it up to see if this makes any sort of difference when we attempt to start the accessory power. We're not trying to start the car yet. We're just trying to get some life into the accessories, and that window keeps going down. We're gonna have no window left soon. All right, now we actually have a real battery hooked up to the car. I'm in, foot is off the brake. And if I recall, when you've got like issue starting these cars up, you turn it to the left for like an emergency mode. And that is not making any difference. It's doing exactly what it did with the jump pack. So unfortunately, just putting in a good battery has basically had no effect on this car. All right, now we can officially check the fuse boxes in this car. A lot of times in these flood cars, when modules short out or electronics short out, they'll blow the fuses. And if we find any blown fuses, it could take us right to our problem areas and make our job real simple. So there's 3 main fuse boxes in this car. This is the first and most obvious one and the easiest to just start pulling and looking at fuses in. And it's always tough to see these, but you can see the bars running across there, so that one's good. And well, these other ones I don't even have to pull out. You can see that one's good. That one's good. These ones we're gonna have to pull individually and look. So far, every single one of these fuses has been good. This is the last one right here, and it's good as well. All right, the next fuse panel they say is behind this here, and some of them open like doors, and some of them just pop open with force. This one feels like it's on really tight. I want to make sure I don't break anything here. I'm not feeling any latches on the underside. And there's our fuses. This fuse doesn't match the rest of them here. It looks like someone has replaced that one time, but it's good. Okay, all of these, again, are good, and that's surprising because if we had any electronics that would have shorted, you'd think they'd be here in the interior, and that would be the fuse panel that they would run through, but they're all good. So that's like a good and a bad thing, right? Remember, our water line is, well, it's not marked on this side, but it's like right here. So if we're looking at it, right here isn't high enough to get to this part of the seat. And while I'm thinking about it, let's just do this. This seat is unbolted. Here, what does this look like on the underside? See how mint the seat looks on the underside? There's hardly anything. Maybe a little bit of corrosion on the bottom of this motor here, but it doesn't look like it submerged the motor at all. We can't forget our battery that we left charging. It's been a little bit over a day, and you can see the charger shut off. It's not charging anymore. It says it's at 100% capacity with 12.8 volts, which is really good. Now, I don't personally trust the charger to do a load test, whereas this device should do one. So we'll hook it back up, and it's powering up unlike before. Now, this battery has a rating of 850 cold cranking amps. We'll hit enter. And there we go. It's right under 850. So it's great. We were able to save the battery, which will save us a good chunk of money. All right, the last main fuse box, according to the owner's manual I found online, is here in the engine bay underneath this cowling. I did have to take a screw off that was in this corner right here, and you can kind of see it right here. All right, I went through every single one of those in the engine bay again. All of them are good. So that is like really strange. Usually you find something blown in the flood. Nothing at all. All the fuses are good. They all look factory too, except for the one that we found there in the interior. So like nothing super abnormal. Now it's time to start digging deeper, which will require us to literally start digging. This is where my lack of electrical knowledge is going to start to show, and I'm hoping you guys help me out down in the comments. But based off of all the clues we've gathered so far, we've got 3 fuse boxes that all seem to be in good working order. I didn't check any of the relays, but think about where the locations of all these boxes are. They're way higher than our supposed flood line, right? And again, we could be pretty confident in that flood line just based on everything else we've seen on this car. Now, the one big clue that I keep thinking of is the fact that when you turn this key, it does absolutely nothing. That key is the gateway to the entire car, and when you turn it either left or right, it should kick all the accessory power on. When the key isn't communicating with the car, it makes me think of Volkswagen's Kessie systems. Now, I know a little bit about Kessie just because I've had a lot of different Volkswagens from this era, a Phaeton, a couple Cayennes, a Touareg, and they have very similar electronics. Kessie is Volkswagen and Audi's keyless entry or keyless access system. I forget exactly what it stands for, but basically it's the module that lets this car have the handshake. When you put that key in the ignition, when you turn it, it says, all right, this key belongs to this car. The person is now allowed to drive it. And if that module got wet, we would definitely be experiencing all the symptoms that we currently have. And when I just Googled Kessie location on Bentley Continental GT, it said it was right here in the driver's side floor panel. So we need to get some of this trim out of the way. Luckily our seat's already up, and we need to see if we can't peel these carpets back and find our Kessie. You know, there's not a lot of good things about these cars, but the one thing I can tell you that's halfway decent is the build quality. These trim pieces feel like they're bolted in place. There's no obvious screws in them. Kick plate. What the heck is this? And what I just saw down here is very strange. Look, there's a cover and then like a case, clearly, that had a module or had something in it, and it's all broken. And look at this. What the heck is this? One other note, it is definitely damp under here, under the padding. It's not soaked. It's not terrible, but, oh, well, look at this. Here you go. Someone popped a grommet out, probably to let the water drain. Somebody's already been in this area after the flood, and I'm not liking this whole entire thing here. Look at these red electrical connectors. While Volkswagen and Audi did some very shoddy electrical work on these generation of cars, I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. I'm wondering if that's where Kessie's supposed to be, but everything else I saw was like in this corner where the dead pedal is. I don't want to break anything, but this is just a big chunk of foam. There's nothing back here. I'm feeling on the opposite side. It's much wetter in the corner. Oh, it's really wet in the corner here.
I couldn't find any other modules in the floor area of the driver's side here. Now, on the broken piece that we found is a part number, and it's a part number for a case. When you search this online, you'll find out that this case houses a handful of fuses. You can see what it should normally look like here. This is definitely not Kessie, but essentially just another fuse box. The strange thing is if you go and look online, you can't find out what this fuse box is for, at least not on a Bentley. And if we go back and look at that mess of wires, it appears someone cut each small red power wire and jumped them to the thicker black power wire, which I would assume would make them all on 100% of the time.
After finding this wire mess, I've got a million new questions. When did somebody do that? Was it well before the car was totaled? Was it right after the car was totaled? Why would somebody mess with the car if it was gonna be totaled? And I know a lot of people are probably thinking at this point, somebody bought this car from auction, they tried to fix it, they failed, so they just sent it right back. But this car was sold directly from the insurance company that I bought it from. It says it on the windshield. It says it on the sales sticker of the car, and if you look up the auction history on it, it's only run through once. So this car was indeed only totaled just now and sold to me. This is an insurance company car, and sometimes insurance companies will send cars to shops before they total them out to see if it's reasonable enough to fix. But I've never once heard of this being done on a flood car. This is only on accident cars with crash damage. Since floods can bring so many electrical unknowns, it doesn't matter if the water got as low as it did on our Bentley or as high as the roof. They tend to total all these cars out just on the spot. Now, most of those questions that I have don't matter in the grand scheme of fixing this car. What does matter is what that original fuse box that's now been eliminated from this car powers. What happened to all of those modules, all those motors? What are they? And so when you look up Bentley fuse box diagram again, you'll only find the main three that we've already checked. But if you switch your search to Volkswagen Phaeton fuse box diagram, they'll actually show you all the hidden fuse boxes that are on this car, including that one that's cut out of the driver's side floorboard. Now, in looking at everything that this fuse box is responsible for on a Phaeton, it doesn't seem like anything that would prohibit the car from starting, but I could be totally wrong here. And by the way, just because it's one way on a Phaeton doesn't mean it's the same way on the Bentley Continental. As far as Kessie goes, I got that seat out of there. I searched all on the driver's side and I didn't see it. It's got to be located somewhere else. A good friend of mine sent me this diagram right here from a Bentley part shop showing Kessie is somewhere in the back seat. Now, from just looking at this picture, you would think it would be higher up, like well above where the water's got, but who knows? Maybe they're just showing a general area. But it's looking like we're going to have a lot more disassembly to go to, at the very least, get this car's electronics to turn on. What I like to do is at least have a wiring diagram in front of me so I know exactly what I'm attacking when we come upon it. But there's one last question I have. On this generation of Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche, and Bentley cars, when you put the key in the ignition, it starts to turn on various different electronics without even turning the ignition. Is our problem as simple as me removing this key and getting it to slot back in? I don't know, but I'm planning on finding out very soon. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way when I release an update video of the Bentley, you're the first to find out. If you are an expert in the Bentley Continental GT, well, drop me a line. Here's my email address. It's also down in the description box. And I thank each and every one of you for watching today. I'll catch you very soon.